Everything you need to know about the Vigo Dem Party. So sit back, relax, and watch from anywhere. Get ready for a chat with the chair.
I'm Joe Etling, Chair of the Vigo County Democratic Central Committee, and welcome to the award-winning Chat with the Chair. So happy you could join us. Hope everyone is doing well. Can you believe Election Day is 2 weeks away? Remember, November 8th, 2022 is Election Day. You've got multiple opportunities to vote before then, but if you choose to wait till Election Day, make sure you're voting on Election Day, and your vote's going to be so important this year. Every vote counts, so we encourage you to get out and vote. And those of you who have opportunities to help out campaigning for some of our great Democratic candidates between now and then, we encourage you to do that. Had a tremendous crowd out at the Indiana State University Homecoming Parade. It was great to see so many people along the streets of Wabash Avenue and 5th Street. And we, of course, had our great candidates out, so we appreciate everybody coming out. And hopefully that you're tempering that candy a little bit. A lot of candy being passed out. One of those candidates was out with us, working so hard, passing out candy, is with us this evening. She needs no introduction on this chat, but nonetheless, remind our viewers who you are.
Well, I'm Vicki Weger, and I'm the County Council person for District 3, and that runs right down through the heart of Terre Haute, from Maple to Holman, more or less, and from 7th Street over to Fruit Ridge, more or less, the heart of Terre Haute.
Now, at the risk of just taking up the rest of the show with this question, why don't you tell our viewers about your background?
Well, I got one. When you've been around as long as I have, you got one.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I know. I just didn't want to.
But I will second that.
But it's an interesting background as far as I'm concerned. Well, I was born right here in Vigo County. I'm happy to say I was born St. Anthony's Hospital, but lived right out on the edge of the county. You can see Illinois right out my dining room window. My mom and dad, Harry and Dosie Weger, they were country music people, and they played all over the country. And as soon as we were big enough, my brothers and I, as soon as we were big enough to play, we learned to play every instrument in the house: the piano, the guitar, the big bass fiddle, a violin, drums, you name it. And as soon as I could, I went on the road traveling with my dad and singing harmony, and became what they call the front man to the show, the Harry Weger Show, and telling jokes and singing harmony. And it was the most fun ever. We traveled with the Grand Ole Opry acts all over the country. It was great.
Now, when you say your parents were country music people, that's a little bit of an understatement. They were quite the celebrities.
Well, they were pretty well known around here. My dad signed WTHI-TV on the air, and he was the Bronco Buddy. He had the Bronco Buddy Club, and lots of folks who are my age now still carry around their Bronco Buddy card. It's funny, every once in a while somebody will pull out their wallet and they've got their crumpled up Bronco Buddy Club card in it. It was Western movies that they would play. Gene Autry, Roy Rogers, and those guys. Gene Autry actually came here with his show and his horse Champion, and brought Annie Oakley with him to Schulte High School. It was so exciting. It was so exciting. And he needed hay for his horse, and so he came out to our place, and my dad had a trick horse named Cherokee, and he got some of Cherokee's hay for Champion, and we were just excited like nobody's business. And you know, show business was so much different then than it is now, because there weren't that many acts that would come to your community. And so when Gene Autry came here, boy, it was a big deal, and we were, you know, everybody came to see him, and we were so pleased that you know, my dad was on the show. We were really excited. But we traveled with, and the acts at that time were people like Roy Acuff and Leroy Van Dyke and Porter Wagner, and then he had a young girl singer that joined his show. Her name was Dolly Parton. I don't know whatever happened to her.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I'm not sure.
Oh, and here's what.
I was thinking about going down to Dollywood and asking. I don't know.
And I'll tell you an interesting story. West Vigo was a kind of a new high school, and they had some band boosters. And so my mom and dad had a booking agency. They had a record shop on Wabash Avenue, Harry Weger Record Shop. And people had bought, they had 45s and then 33 and a third albums. And that's how people bought their records then. And so we would book shows, and they were called package shows, and you would have like more than one artist on it. And so we would book Grand Ole Opry shows, and the band boosters came and asked Daddy if he would book a package show to raise money for the band boosters. So he booked through an agency in Nashville, and he booked the Wilburn brothers, Teddy and Doyle Wilburn, and they were a big, probably the most popular group at that time out of Nashville. And so booked him and put up the posters, and they'd go out and put posters in the, the restaurant window and so on. And so Doyle Wilburn called my dad, and he said, Harry, he said, we got a new girl singer. She's brand new in Nashville, and she's really good. He said, we could bring her up for $100. He said, well, we really got the show booked, and they don't have much money. It's a small organization. I don't think they can have anybody else. He said, well, how about $50? And so he said, well, I don't think so. He said, we got the show cards printed. He said, well, I'll tell you what, we're just going to bring her anyway. And so when the big bus pulled in front of West Vigo, I couldn't wait to see who all was there. And so all the artists got off the bus, but no girl singer got off the bus. So I just stepped up on the bus and looked back, and in the front row, there was this young woman sitting there just sewing fringe on a dress as fast as she could. And she had big pink foam rollers in her hair. And she looked up and she said, oh, hi, I'm Loretta Lynn. And it was Loretta Lynn. And it was the first time she had come out of Nashville to play a show.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, she just tore up the place. It was so fabulous, and encore after encore. And she stayed in touch with us as she would write postcards, just plain little, penny postcards. And she wrote to me, and she would say, hi, how are your daddy? My dad was a DJ on the air too, on the radio. And she had gone to the third or fourth grade in school and then quit. And she would spell things phonetically. And she would say, your daddy, D-A-D-Y, and I treasured those things that she wrote. She was just so natural and pure and wonderful, and she never changed.
Wow.
Never changed.
Great story.
Yeah. So those years, we were engaged with the public, and I always just loved to get to know the regular people of America. And that's, part of my interest in serving the public, because you realize not everybody has it easy, and not everybody has anybody to advocate for them. And so, that's part of my interest about being on the county council, because that's a real local level of reaching out to those people. But after I did that, then our neighbor Birch By came to my dad and
Heard
said,
of him too.
he and my mom had worked together at the Farm Bureau. My mom worked at Farm Bureau Insurance, and Birch worked, he was a farmer, and he would come into the co-op and buy his farm stuff there, and he ran for the legislature. And so we campaigned for him for legislature, and he of course became the Speaker of the House, the youngest speaker ever. And so then he ran for the Senate, and we campaigned for him there. And then in '68, he really had a tough time, because Bobby Kennedy had been murdered, and Martin Luther King had been killed, and Nixon was running, and it was really, really tough. And so we hit the road with our band, with our music, and Birch always ran late, because he'd just yak and talk to everybody. And so he'd have all these dates set up all over the state. So we'd take the band ahead of him and entertain them, the audience, and then we'd see him come in the back door, and he'd run up through the audience and jump up on the stage and start singing Back Home Again in Indiana. Well, on the year that Nixon won Indiana, Birch Bayh won Senate seat again in Indiana. So we always thought we might have had a tiny part in helping him win.
So you had more than a tiny part, for sure.
It was great. And he was a wonderful senator. He sure was. And he wrote 2 constitutional amendments, just the same number as Thomas Jefferson, and nobody else ever wrote more.
Yeah, he's quite a legend in American history, and one from Vigo County as well.
Yeah,
so
proud of him.
Of course, you've had a lot of great mentors, including your parents over the years, and talk a little bit about your professional background.
Well, after I did work for the senator on his campaign staff, and then I was his liaison for the 7th Congressional District for a number of years. I also worked for Dun & Bradstreet at that time. And as much as I appreciated the check from Dun & Bradstreet, I was more drawn to the public service aspect of it. And so I went to work for the senator's legislative assistant, who was Larry Conrad. Larry became Secretary of State of Indiana. But a guy named Bill Brighton came and asked me if I'd run his campaign for mayor. So I did. Then I became his administrative assistant. And while I was working for him, I met a guy from NBC News named Teddy Elbert. And he was a real nice guy. So I married him.
That oftentimes happens, you know.
It does. You know, they just walk in the door and wham! It just, there was a little passage of time in there. I did go to work for WTHI. I worked for them for 16 years as the assignments editor and then the managing editor. And then I married Teddy, went to Chicago, and then we went to New York. Teddy was a producer for nightly news. So I thought if I left here, I had to get a job in television. So I went to work for NBC. And then we went to Europe. He became the bureau chief at Frankfurt, Germany. And I worked in Germany, and then he went to Paris. And actually, that's many countries in Europe that they cover. And worked, like France and Italy and Switzerland and Czechoslovakia, Belgium, England. Luxembourg and so forth. We sailed with the Belgian Navy out in the North Sea when a shipload of uranium hexafluoride overturned. And we went to, when we were in Paris, went to South Africa. And we were there for, an extended period of time. And that's when Nelson Mandela was in captivity. He was imprisoned at Cook Island, or Robben Island, I mean. And Winnie Mandela was overseeing the black movement there, and I went into the townships in Soweto and saw how apartheid was just killing the black population there, how children were starving, and the white people would load up the black men in dump trucks and take them to work in the gold mines. And they worked from till the sun came up, till it became dark, and they'd bring them back and literally dump them out, dump that truck bed out and dump them out on the ground. And you see what it means to live in a democratic country where you can elect your leaders and elect people that treat you right and give you your rights. And thank God we have a constitution that guarantees our rights. And that's what it means to go to the polls and vote. And I mean, you learn how to believe in that and protect it.
Well, you've had some unbelievable experiences, and of course, along the way there, you also were awarded an Emmy.
We did. We got an Emmy. Well, that's when we came back to the States, and then we began to worked for Nightly News, and we covered the O.J. Simpson trial for a year. We covered the Unabomber. That was an interesting experience. We were the first crew in on that one. And we got a call to go to Grand Forks, North Dakota for the flood. The Red River flooded, and it was terrible. It wiped out the whole town. And the when the water came up and flooded all of the town, to make things even worse, the downtown buildings caught on fire and burned. And it was just an absolute abomination. You can't imagine how the people suffered because they just lost virtually their whole town. And we covered it, for the duration of the thing, and won the national Emmy for that. It was excellent.
And it's amazing considering all of these accomplishments and accolades and experiences that you've had over the course of your lifetime and professional career, that the top of your resume is the producer for Chat with the Chair. I mean,
that's exactly right.
I mean,
I love doing this. I love this. You know why? Because people in this community have so many things that go on in this community, and they need to know about it, and we can tell them.
Because we can.
And you're the chairman, and we can chat with you.
So we are delighted that you are in that role, and you've compiled a great staff and working group here, with the exception of our on-air talent, which we're still working on. We're trying to develop that. But beyond that, of course, you had spent so much time in so many campaigns and in working to get people elected and working on staffs and doing things. And what was it that finally made you decide to run for office yourself, Vicki?
Well, I can answer that, I'll tell you. I never thought I would ever, make the jump myself, because I always like to work behind the scenes, and as a producer, that's what you do. But I was here when that jail argument started. Build the jail, don't build the jail, put it here, don't put it there, don't, big, little, whatever. And it just got so absurd. And Kathy Chalos Miller was on the council, and she just said, I just can't take this anymore. I am stepping down. And I thought, what it takes is somebody who's just got the guts to go in there and do the right thing. Vote on the dang project and get it going. So I said, I'm gonna try to get that seat in a caucus. And so I just tossed my name in the hat. And I thought, well, if I win, I'll just do it. And if I don't win, I'll just help whoever does win. And so I won. Boom. The first night that I was on that council, and it was all guys. And we were out in the hallway behind the council chamber, and I said, okay, boys, you ready to vote? Because I'm going to make the motion. And they're going, well, hold on. Don't make it tonight. I said, oh, yeah. Vote it down or vote it up, but we're going to vote on it. And I made the motion, and they all voted yes.
Well, that set the tone for your campaign slogan for the rest of your political runs. Is that right?
Yep. She's got the guts to do what's right.
You gotta like it. So you ran for the county council, and you've been representing that district, now over the last 5+ years, and doing a tremendous job. Talk about some of the things that have been accomplished during your tenure and what you're looking forward to in the future, Vicki.
Well, one of the things that I really think is important is the quality of life in our community. The thing that I heard people say since I came back to Terre Haute is we got to do something so that our kids can stay here after they graduate from school. And that simply amounts to the quality of life that we have here. What's the rate of pay? Can kids afford to stay here after they graduate? Can they get a job? Who's going to be able to earn a living doing what their degree is in? So we have to attract industry here. We have to attract jobs that will pay enough money. So, I think that's what we've made some steps in that direction. We've got Steel Dynamics, a $200 million project that's paying, they're going to have like 80 or 90 jobs that are going to pay $80,000 to $90,000. We're going to have the Great Dane Company is bringing all 9 of their companies are are scattered all over the country. They're going to bring them all here. Those are big paying jobs. That's the kind of thing we have to do. But we also have to pay our own county employees a living wage, a good wage that they can live on, and keep that historical knowledge that they have and serve the public. The public pays us to run the government well. So we need to pay our employees well. We need to pay our deputy sheriffs a wage that they can feel like they have good equipment, they have safe they're safe at night out there. They patrol at 2 o'clock in the morning by themselves out in the county. They need to be safe. We need to have good dispatchers. We got to get our dispatchers pay up, by the way. I'm going to work on that next. And that kind of stuff has to be done. What we think of our own people, that our most important resource, our people, that's the most important thing in my opinion.
Now, there's a lot of candidates and office holders that talk about being pro-law enforcement. You walk the walk on that issue.
I absolutely support those guys and gals. That's important. I mean, there's things that you do for them that keeps them safe and keeps them keeps their equipment has to be good. Their uniforms, their body armor, their body cams. We got them body cams. That's important. And and I still will continue to work to elect the best people for the job. We've got to recruit good candidates to run for office and get that pay up too. In the past I've said in meetings where they say, don't raise the pay up for the office holders. People will run against us. No kidding. That's right. I'm not raising my pay. I'm raising the pay for somebody to run against me. When I step down, I want somebody worth a nickel to step in. That's what it's about.
Now, Vicki, you've lived all over the world and worked all over the world and could be, for all intents and purposes, living anywhere in the world. Why are you living here in Terre Haute, Vigo County?
Because this is the greatest city I ever lived in. I love this place. I love the people here. This is worth investing in. The people here are worth investing in. And that's what I'm going to do till the day I drop dead.
And of course, we talked about Election Day. People are voting, have been voting. We encourage people to vote early, but if they wait, Election Day is 2 weeks away.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, you never know what'll come up between now and then. I mean, God forbid, we could have a tornado. I mean, things happen. You don't know what might come up in your life. I mean, you might fall down and break your leg and be in the hospital tomorrow. That wouldn't be good. Just do it and get it over with. But know who in the heck you're voting for. That's important.
Of course, you've seen a lot of elections, a lot of campaigns. How do you rate this particular election, this election cycle in 2022?
Well, I think it's a biggie. This is really it could be a turning point in our lives. I mean, people have to recognize the importance of protecting our democracy. I hear people say, well, I don't know if it's as important to protect the democracy as it is to democracy is the most important and most valuable thing we have in this country. I have been places where countries where people say to me, I want to live in America. I want to be able to have freedom. They know what it is. I think we take it for granted. It's big. It's the biggest thing we have, that you can choose to elect the person you think should be running our government. That's important. The person who should be the sheriff, the person who should be the trustee, the person who should be, from the biggest office, the president, to the person on an advisory board. You should know, are they honest? Are they smart? Are they trustworthy? Are they approachable? Why are they running? Those are questions that really are important. Find out. I mean, they're here. They live right here among us. They're our neighbors. Ask somebody. Ask somebody who should know. Ask the chairman. Ask the person holding the office now. Why are you running again? That's important. And look at how your government's functioning. Are you pleased with it? Is it okay? If it is, give it a go. And if it's not, out.
Of course, you also know the importance of working hard as you do. And of course, it's been recognized by so many people. Just this past week, the Indiana State Democratic Party came through on a tour, and you were selected as one of the spokesperson at that press conference. Talk about that and what you were speaking about at that particular event.
Well, I was really pleased to be able to put my 2 cents worth in. It was called the Contract with Women, and it's asking people to be conscious that we have the opportunity to keep our ability to choose our own health care in Indiana. The legislature and the governor have shut down our ability to make a choice over our own health care in the child bearing department. That's nobody's business but our own, and our decision to make with our doctor. And if, and the next step in that is access to contraceptives. Nobody else's business but our own, and that's the decision that we make when we go to vote this time. Be informed and make the choice that will protect your health care. We have a man running for senator. He has been the mayor up in Hammond for 19 years, and he is a gem. He is terrific. He is so smart, Mayor McDermott, and he impresses me beyond my ability to even put it into words. I would vote for him any day of the week. I think that he could be President of the United States. I truly do. He's honest and he's smart. He's a graduate of Purdue, and he is really, really top notch. He runs circles around Todd Young, and I encourage you to vote for him. He is absolutely remarkable.
What can people do that are out there viewing our show to help Vicki Weger in her campaign?
Well, just get your rear end to the polls and vote for me. That's what you got to do. I will appreciate it, and I tell you what, I'll work my fingers to the bone for you. You can call me up. You can knock on my door. You can come to the council meetings. Do come to the council meetings, by the way. Sometimes it's highly entertaining. Sometimes it's boring, but it makes you be a good citizen. And they're also streamed. You can see them, sit home and watch them on your computer if you got nothing else to do. And just contact me, and I'll be happy to help you out in whatever problem you got. And be sure to vote. That's the most important. In fact, do it this week. Just get it over with. Do it this week. Put that on your hit list to do.
You're always on the other side of the camera, and you've done a bang-up job out here. I'm thinking we might just have to take the chair off and chat with Vicki. I think that's what the crew is indicating.
The show sure would be a lot longer, I'll tell you that. They're giving us a wrap here, but I just ignore those guys.
Well, Vicki, we're going to take Vicki's advice. Everybody's going to get out and vote this week.
Yep.
That's the call from Vicki Weger to vote this week, and that's the thing to do.
Hey, one more thing I wanted to say. See, this is how you get the show longer. One more thing I wanted to say that I'm really proud of. For a lot of years, I've been the basketball mom for the Indiana State University men's basketball team ever since Royce Waltman was the coach here. That's a lot of years. And we got Coach Schertz is going into his second year as our coach. This is the first year he's recruited the team that's here. Last year, he kind of had a ragamuffin team. It was kind of leftovers, and I think he got some of them with a dip net. But we made it through. Some of those games, I thought the bus driver was going to have to go in and help finish it up with COVID and all that stuff. But we've got a wonderful bunch of fellas this year, and boy, they are tough as nails, and I think we're going to win a bunch of games.
I was going to get to that topic, but we got a little long-winded here, but I think it's been awesome. I know I did, got a little long-winded, but it was awesome. But I will go back to that, so that I was curious, Vicki, because you have become the team mom, without a question, Indiana State University men's basketball. How did that start?
Well, I'll tell you, it started because when Teddy and I kind of semi-retired from NBC News, we worked when they would call us on special projects, but my folks were getting older, and really I needed to come down here. And I thought, how in the world am I going to keep Teddy, my husband, amused in Terre Haute? He's a Chicago kid. So I knew he liked sports a lot. He was the quarterback for the University of Illinois, and that was when they were on Navy Pier. He was older than I am, actually. So I thought basketball, and I knew Royce. I'd known Royce for a long time, and so I'd take him over to the practice, and he loved going to the practice. That's a lot of fun. And so then Royce and Carol would come over for dinner, and then a couple of the boys would come over, and then they found out I could cook, and then a lot of the boys had come over, and then pretty soon they were swimming, and then they were shooting hoops, and then they were in the hot tub, and then I was a basketball mom. That was that.
Well, I think Teddy got the most enjoyment of going watching some of Coach Waltman's colorful language around practice, but he was entertainment in of itself. And if I'm not mistaken, Coach Waltman's going to the Hall of Fame. Is that right?
He's going this year in February. It's terrific. I'm so happy.
I'm excited.
And Jake Odom, too. What do you think
Odom,
about
another one of our former
great.
Chat with the Chair. But,
yes,
but Royce Waltman, no greater
he was
man. Just he was an awesome guy, a great coach, and just a great human being all the way around.
Funny. Was he funny or what?
Oh, just had the whole package. So we miss
good.
Royce. We sure do miss him.
day.
So one last question though, Vicki, because you have quite the reputation with your cooking and baking, and so over all these meals that you've cooked for various basketball players, what seems to be the go-to favorite meal for those players, for Vicki Weger?
No doubt, fried chicken.
Fried chicken.
That's it. Fried chicken.
There you have it.
Easy peasy.
So you get the last word, Vicki. What do you say?
Get yourself to the polls and vote this week.
Can't say it any better myself. I appreciate you all tuning in to Chat with the Chair. I'm Joe Etling with Vicki Weger. We appreciate you being with us. Have a great night. God bless you all.
MOCRATIC. Everything you need to know about the Vigo Dem party. So sit back, relax, and watch.